I've been spending a decent amount of time recently reading off-season previews, trying to get myself up to speed on what some of the bigger storylines are going to be this offseason. We're going to discuss one of them more in depth in hour number 2 of the program, because there is a quarterback carousel that is developing right in front of our eyes. And the Cardinals, at least right now, are going to be sitting it out. So we'll dive into that a little bit in hour number 2 of the program. But I'm trying to get a feel on what other teams might be doing, right? It's easy for us to sit here and discuss what our dream offseason is for the Cardinals. Sign this guy, trade for that guy, draft this guy, put together this roster, right? It's easy for us to do that. That's in a vacuum. That's if we had a chance to wave the magic wand and make everything happen. That's not the way reality works. There are other teams that are going to have similar needs to the Cardinals, that might like a player just as much, if not more, than the Cardinals. The Cardinals also pick 16th in the draft. There are 15 teams in front of them that could mess it up. And so I'm trying to get to the bottom of who might also be involved in some of the buckets where the Cardinals might be involved in. And I'll tell you one early takeaway that I've had. I know this isn't true, but it feels like all of these previews about the Cardinals in the offseason are being written by the same exact person. Why do I say that? Because anytime you see the Arizona Cardinals and what their offseason plan should be, it is the same thing over and over and over again. Now, it might be presented differently, it might be worded differently, but the message is the same. Defense. Got to improve the edge group. Got to find a pass rusher. Got to get after the quarterback. Pressure, defense. However it gets worded, however it gets phrased, it is the same thing. But there was something that I noticed this morning that was a little different. Stood out to me. It's from the same guy that we mentioned a little bit earlier in the show in the first segment, Doug Holler. He has 2 great quotes that we're referencing here today on the program. Because they put together a story of all 32 teams' biggest offseason needs. Now, mind you, it's the same thing. It's pass rush. But there was a phrase that Doug used that it just jumped off the page at me. I'll read the quote. But they lack a difference maker up front. Rallis has done well getting by without one. But for Arizona to become a playoff team, this is the next move. It has to be addressed. End quote. A difference maker. That phrase, that word spoke to me this morning. It stood out to me this morning. Why? Because it goes to an argument of quantity over quality. The Cardinals, with their 5 draft picks, with their somewhere between $40 and $70 million in cap space this offseason, they can take multiple swings at pass rush. They can sign Josh Sweat. They can sign Azeez Ojulari. They could draft somebody on day 2 with either their 2nd or 3rd round pick. They could do all of those things. Are any of those guys difference makers? They're better. The overall room is better for the Arizona Cardinals, but it is quantity over quality. Quantity gives you options, but does it, and I will quote from the story again, put doubt in a quarterback's mind? In the potential scenario that I just outlined, Sweat, Ojulari, drafting somebody, is that going to put the doubt into a quarterback's mind? Is it going to make them think a little bit more at the line of scrimmage? Imagine being under center and looking across and seeing Aaron Donald waiting for you. Imagine going under center and looking across and seeing Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons waiting for you. That puts the doubt into your mind. No offense to Josh Sweat, but I don't know if he does that. So quantity gives you options. Quality gives you the guy that puts the doubt into the opposing quarterback's mind. Quality is swinging a trade for Myles Garrett. Quality is swinging a trade for Max Crosby or Micah Parsons. That's quality. That's a difference maker. That is putting doubt into a quarterback's mind. But Myles Garrett might not fit with what the Cardinals want to do. Bill Barnwell over at ESPN.com yesterday put together a great rundown and a history lesson on the Myles Garrett situation. He broke down some other trades that we could use as comparisons or plot points to see what a potential Myles Garrett deal would look like. And he put the caveat on it of, hey, Myles Garrett's about to be 30 years old. He's been an All-Pro multiple times in his career. So those stats, those pieces of information, if you look at other trades of guys who were around the same age and who had some of the same accolades, the All-Pros, what could a potential deal look like? And he looked at a lot of recent deals. Tyreek Hill getting moved, the Cardinals moved to get DeAndre Hopkins, the Jets trading Darrelle Revis to Tampa Bay, the Patriots getting out in front and trading Richard Seymour. Those are just some of the trades that were invoked. I believe the Eric Dickerson deal was in there as well. His best guess after looking at all of it was that it's going to start at least one first-round pick to land Myles Garrett, and it more than likely is going to end up being more. Why? Because there are going to be a lot of teams in the mix, which will create a bidding war. So Barnwell went a step further and put all of the teams into buckets. Who's likely to join this fray? Well, he had 3 teams that were slam dunks: the Bears, the Colts, the Commanders. He had 4 teams that he put in the maybe bucket: the Bills, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Chargers. That's 7 teams right there that are in the maybe or absolutely they should. Then he had 9 teams that should at least consider this, but did not have them in the same tiers as those other 7. And that's where the Cardinals landed. So before the Cardinals are on this list, 7 teams pop up. That is a lot of teams. A lot of teams mean a bidding war. And a bidding war means more than a first-round pick. Feels like a bad time to only have 5 draft picks, doesn't it? Feels like you would want last year's draft pick haul this year. Having 5 picks puts you at a pretty distinct disadvantage in these conversations, doesn't it? We have almost to a fault talked about the need of a pass rusher. But I'm wondering how easy it is for them to accomplish finding a difference maker. It is this question that is going to frame the success or failure of the entire offseason. Everything else is put to the side. How do you solve this question? And the point I'm trying to make here is it is not an easy task. The free agent market isn't loaded with difference makers. The draft, while it is a good edge class, am I really going to say a rookie is going to be a difference maker? Ask yourself how many rookies hit the ground running and are difference makers. You can point to examples, but I can also point to examples of first-round players that take some time. How is Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie season in comparison to what we expected of him? It can happen even with the best of the best prospect-wise. Myles Garrett's market might become too big for the Cardinals. What happens if Micah Parsons or Max Crosby become available? They're younger than Myles Garrett. It's going to cost more than what Garrett would command in a trade. So we talk about how important this offseason is. We talk about how important getting this right is. But it's going to be a heavy lift. The pressure of what this offseason needs to be, the pressure of needing to feel to fill this hole, to solve this problem, and to see how difficult it's going to be, it is pushing me more towards this is going to be a quantity over quality play. This is going to be, we're going to get 3 or 4 guys instead of making the big swing for one, because the big swing for one guy is really hard to pull off, and there aren't that many of those guys available. So will the Cardinals land a difference maker? Right now, I would lean towards telling you no. Will they get better in their pass rush room? They better. And the way I think they're going to do it falls very much in line with philosophically the way this team operates. Monty is a shrewd general manager. I said yesterday I want draft night Monty, and I still would rather them go that direction. But I think they're going to go more the quantity over the quality route. Even though a Myles Garrett would absolutely change this team. Even though a Max Crosby would change this team. A Micah Parsons would change this team. We can all agree that those players would be major impactful players. It's just really hard to do. It's really hard to pull off with the limited assets and the bidding war that is going to present, and with the philosophical way we have seen this team operate. They need a difference maker. I think they're going to try to attack it in a different way. They're just going to try to get a bunch of super high floor players instead of the guy with the super high ceiling. Will it work? Let's see what names they bring in.